Okay. So the ox riding pictures, it's kind of famous, and maybe this is just cocktail party stuff, for the average person. But for me, it's a benchmark, um, for somewhat like a benchmark. But as anything that ends in, you can everything you can learn from everything, and um, the ox riding pictures are a great way of seeing the progression. And you can look at it different ways. It's either ox riding or bull, um, depending on the translation. They don't really know who came up with these. It was developed in China in ancient times. And I've seen a couple of writings where they said, well, this guy came up with them and then this guy redid it. And so it's kind of like, we don't know. We weren't there. So I'm not going to really say this guy did it and that guy, because, I don't know. Maybe scholars will figure that out, but I don't, that part isn't important. So what I do want to do is I'm going to share my screen, and um, this is from another lecture, but I'm not going to go over this guy's lecture. But he does have the pictures, and the poems that go along with the pictures. So I'm going to share this here, and kind of go over each here. So and I'll go over what it says. The ox riding pictures is a series of 10 hand-drawn illustrations that depict the stages of spiritual awakening, enlightenment, and the journey towards becoming a fully realized individual. It originated in China during the 12th century and has since become a popular subject of study and interpretation of Zen Buddhism. The 10 illustrations depict the following stages of the journey. The first one is the search for the bowl. And in this stage, the seeker begins his journey, searching for something that he feels is missing in his life. This could be a sense of purpose, a fulfillment, or a spiritual understanding. And what we have is the ox herd or ox herder. And you see him, he's kind of on a path, but there's everything, all this stuff around him. He's looking around. And this was certainly me when I started my kind of spiritual, trying to find something outside of myself, I think, which is kind of funny because it's always been with me. It just felt like I was missing something. And I tried lots of stuff. I grew up in a Presbyterian church, and I knew that wasn't for me. It didn't ring with me. And so I started looking at different things, and Buddhism interested me. I looked at Hinduism. There was a lot of different things. And so this was kind of me, and I kind of felt like I was lost, but I was looking. And the poem says, in the pasture of the world, I endlessly push aside the tall grasses in search of the bull. Following unnamed rivers, lost in the interpenetrating paths of distant mountains, my strength failing, my vitality exhausted. I cannot find the bull. I only hear the locusts chirping through the forest at night. And what we're looking at is letting go and being open, open to what's out there. And the possibility that the spiritual search can be a directive force in our life. but we have to have a question. And I think that's key with everything. You have to have a question and not feel like you know the answer. And it's kind of like why Bruce always encourages people to ask questions, because that's the journey, is the question. And there's a great little story. He was a master, a Chinese Zen master, and he was a great scholar of the Diamond Sutra. And he had heard about this other teacher, and so he thought he might go and wow this other teacher with his knowledge. But on the way, he stopped by a little stand, and an older lady was selling tea, and she was asking where he was going, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to go see Master so and so," and he said, I'm a great scholar of the Diamond Sutra. And she goes, oh, that's interesting. And says, what can you tell me about this? And he goes, well, the mind does not grasp the past. The mind does not grasp the present. The mind does not grasp the future. And she said, well, which mind would have tea? And he was kind of taken back, she kind of poked him. And so he started to kind of question, wow, what was that? And so that's the deal, that you have to have a question. You can't just be full of answers. So the second is discovering the footprints. In discovering the footprints, the seeker discovers footprints of the bull and realizes that he's on the right path. And this is the part that really requires, you got to persevere, you've got to be patient. This is kind of where we start our practice. And the poem is, along the riverbank, under the trees, I discover footprints. Even under the fragrant grass, I see his prints. Deep in the remote mountains, they are found. These traces can no more be hidden than one's nose looking heavenward. And so, yeah, he sees the little traces, the little footprints. And, but there's still stuff going on. And it says, in this one, we feel resonance between the deepest yearning of our hearts and the direction pointed out by the tradition. We let go of the distractions and concentrate on what's important to us. What we are seeking, we already are. And for me, it was, this is when I found Zen. I go, oh, okay, I like this. This may be what I was looking for. And in some ways, this is where I feel I'm at, is this second one still. I don't, sometimes I get glimpses of something else, but I still feel like I'm, just kind of discovered it, even after so many years of practice. I just feel like I've just discovered it, and it's just so vast. The third one is perceiving the bull. And it says, the seeker finally sees the bull. His heart is filled with excitement. He is determined to catch the bull and possess it. And of course here, the bull represents maybe enlightenment. Sometimes it represents our ego. But he also, when you're looking at the bull here, you're just seeing the ass end of him. And so you can't really, well, is it a bull or is it something else? Is it a horse? Is it a moose? Um, and so we're not sure, but we think we're at, this might be it. And the poem is, I hear the song of the nightingale, the sun is warm, the wind is mild, willows are green along the shore. Here no bull can hide. What artist can draw that massive head, those majestic horns? And this is our first glimpse of the true nature of ourself, of being completely awake and seeing clearly, for letting go of intellectualizing our lives by training and trusting. This is where we start to develop an insight with our wisdom. And we start seeing ourselves more clearly. We start seeing life a little more clearly. Excuse me. Number 4 is the catching the bull. The seeker successfully catches the bull and begins to tame it. And the poem is, I seize him with a terrific struggle. His great will and power are inexhaustible. He charges to the high plateau far above the cloud mist, or an impenetrable ravine he stands. I have abandoned the whip and rope. And this is where we begin to get a rudimentary understanding of the nature of the true self. The ego is forceful and its body spirited. This process continues forever. Realization followed by actualization. And this is where we realize there's no separation between insight and action. And as it says, it goes on forever. This is the practice. And this is kind of also where Zen catches us, and where we feel a resonance with it. In the 5th picture is taming the bull. The seeker continues to tame the bull, and it's kind of easier for him to control and understand it. And this is an interesting one. It says the whip and rope are necessary, else he might stray down some dusty road. Being well trained, he becomes naturally gentle. Then unfettered, he obeys his master. And so if you remember in the 4th picture, he said he'd abandoning the whip and rope, but then it says it's necessary. It's not, it's that constant, we have to have practice. We can't just, oh, we've got it, at this point, because we don't. But it says a repeated movement from realization to actualization, the manifestation of our developing clarity of our life. In the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, one of the 4th agreements says you have to be impeccable in all things that you do. And it is in this one that we really have to pay attention, and we start to pay attention to what we do, and we start catching ourselves when we slip back. And I know that I do this constantly. That I always catch myself, when anger arises, or a frustration, or I start shooting on me, I should have did this, I should have did that. And so I catch myself doing this. But in that is where we have developed a compassion, because we're not just chiding ourselves, but we're being gentle. And in that compassion is where we look at the being impeccable in what we do, but we're compassionate in how we respond to it. In the sixth picture is the riding the bull home. And it says, the seeker begins to enjoy his journey and becomes more aware of the world around him. He is no longer just chasing after the bull, but now able to enjoy the ride. And the poem goes, mounting the bull, slowly I return homeward. The voice of my flute intones through the evening, measuring with hand beats the pulsating harmony. I direct the endless rhythm. Whoever hears this melody will join me. And this is where our Bodhi mind starts to arise. And we start to navigate the complexities of our lives with ease. And there's an appreciation of the all-encompassing nature of each thing, each and everything and everyone. We start to appreciate our fellow human beings a little more and the creatures of the earth. And like I said, this is a continuing rising of Bodhi, of compassion, with wisdom. And I think this is my favorite picture because it just, for him riding the bull, and the bull you look at the bull's face, it's very gentle. And you're seeing a melding of the two instead of just being separate. In the seventh is the bull transcended. And in this stage, the seeker realizes that the bull is not just an external object, but also a manifestation of his own inner self. He transcends the duality of self and other and begin to understand the true nature of reality. In the poem, it says, astride the bull, I reach home. I am serene. The bull too can rest. The dawn has come. In blissful repose, within my thatched dwelling, I have abandoned the whip and rope. It said that here the struggle is ended. Peace and relaxation pervades. All is one, not two. An appreciation of the relationship between the absolute and relative. And here we start feeling, and this is actually a tricky part, because we start feeling very serene, and we have to watch to make sure, because there's a saying, the stink of Zen, and where we become, I think our abbot Grace says, the Zen zombie, and where we're just, everything's fine, everything's good, and we kind of get lost in it. So it's just a remembering that we're attached to everything, the good and the bad, or whatever that might be, the real human life. In the eighth, it's both bull and self transcended. And here we have an Enzo, the circle that's famous within Zen, of no beginning and no end, but there's always a little gap. There's always a little gap. It also can represent emptiness. It said, in this stage, the seeker realizes that the bull and the self are both illusions, and that they are one and the same. He transcends duality of self and non-self, and is able to see the world without the veil of ignorance. In the poem, it says, whip, rope, person, bull, all merge in no thing. This heaven is so vast, no message can stain it. How may a snowflake exist in a raging fire? Here are the footprints of the ancestors. I have abandoned the whip and ropes. And here, the complete falling away of body and mind. This is what Dogen was talking about when in the Ginza koan is of dropping away body and mind. In this stage, both the ox and the person are gone. The body and the three bodies of the Buddha, which are the Dharmakaya, is the absolute basis of reality and negation of all things. In the ninth is reaching the source. The seeker reaches the source of all things and realizes that everything is interconnected. He understands that there is no difference between himself and the world, and that everything is one. The poem goes, too many steps have been taken, returning to the root and the source. Better have been blind and deaf from the beginning, dwelling in one's true abode, unconcerned with or and without. The river flows tranquilly on, and the flowers are red. I have abandoned the whip and ropes. In this one, in the second body of the Buddha, is the Sambhoyakaya, which is the body of bliss body or the reward body. And it says, life's knots are untangled, enjoying the truth that one has embodied. And this is the, when they said all paths lead up to the mountain, this is where we reach a vista. And it isn't where that we've arrived, but this is a great spot in our training. And it's always very important, especially through all this, is to have a teacher that guides us through us, and then we don't just make this up and go, oh, we're here, I've arrived. And because we always have to be checked. We always have to have someone that is been with us through the whole journey. And the very last, in the 10th picture, is in the world. It says, return to society. In this final stage, the seeker has returned to society, not as a separate individual, but as a being who is in harmony with the world. He's able to help others on their journey toward enlightenment and is a source of peace and wisdom in the world. And in the poem, it says, barefoot and naked at breast, I mingle with the people of the world. My clothes are ragged and dust-laden, and I'm ever blissful. I use no magic to extend my life. Now, before me, the dead trees become alive. I have abandoned the whips and ropes. In this one, as you notice, the youngster, the young ox herder, he has who begun that search is now returned as an old sage. He's usually carrying a gourd. It's a stick and a gourd, and he kind of looks like Hote, if you know the kind of the laughing Buddha. But you see him. He is the young herder has disappeared, and the old sage has appeared. And this is the final body of the Buddha, is their Nirmanakaya. It's which the bliss bestowing hands, and the physical body teaching of the Buddha. And so you see that, and he's back in the dusty village, which means we're ultimately, as bodhisattvas, we're here to help others and help others along the path. And that's what he's done. There's other translations that says he's down there with the butchers and the wine drinkers, and they're all Buddhas. And so, ultimately that's what this journey is taking us on, is somehow manifesting the the Buddha in whatever we might do, whether it's in teaching, whether it's in poetry, whether it's in art, however we may bring that to others. Is that these 10 illustrations have been interpreted in many ways over the years, but the underlying message is always the same, that the journey towards enlightenment is a process that requires patience, perseverance, and a willingness to see beyond the illusions of the world. It is a journey that is both inward and outward, that requires us to connect with the world in a meaningful way. And as I said before, as far as who drew these pictures or who came up with this, the origin of the ox-herding pictures are not clear. It is believed to have been passed down orally for centuries before being recorded. Their earliest known set of illustrations were created by unknown artists in China during the 12th century. Over the centuries, the pictures have been redrawn and reinterpreted by many artists, both in China and Japan, each adding their own unique style and perspective. In Japan, the pictures have been particularly popular during the Edo period, which is in the 16 to 1800s, and were often used as the subject matter of woodblock prints. Many famous artists such as Hokusai and Utamaro created their own versions of ox-herding pictures, and the series became an integral part of Zen Buddhist culture. Today, the ox-herding pictures continue to be an important part of Zen Buddhism and are widely recognized as a symbol of the journey towards a spiritual awakening and enlightenment. Although the original artist remains unknown, and the pictures have a lasting impact and continue to be appreciated and studied by people all around the world. And so my last question was to myself on this was, well, how does this apply to us now in modern times? And to me, the ox-herding pictures may have originated centuries ago, but they still hold relevance to modern life. The journey depicted in the pictures is one that is not limited to a specific place or time, but rather speaks of the universal human experience. Here are a few ways in which the pictures can be related to modern life. Go back to the first. Not making anybody seasick. In the search for purpose, the first stage of the journey, the search for the bull, relates to the feeling that many people experience in modern life, the sense that something is missing or they are lacking direction or purpose. The pictures can provide inspiration for those who are searching for meaning in their lives. The importance of perseverance. The journey depicted in the pictures are not an easy one and requires perseverance and patience. This is a lesson that can apply to many aspects of modern life, from personal goals to professional aspirations. As I said, it's an ongoing, lifelong journey. As it said, it continues forever. And also, other than maybe the way the ox herder looks, you compare this one to the last picture where he's the sage, there's not much difference. He's on the path. The sage was still on the path. He just was down in the village. The other part is the value of mindfulness. The journey towards enlightenment is one that requires an awareness of the present moment and a deep understanding of the self. This focus on mindfulness and self-awareness becomes increasingly important in modern life as people seek to combat stress and anxiety and improve their overall well-being. And I think this is really something that's Zen's legacy that really, I believe, has changed the world, is the idea of mindfulness, because you see the idea of mindfulness in everything, even though it's been a kind of co-opted in some kind of weird, trying to sell stuff, or the mindfulness community. But it really has started to change the way we're we interact with in life. And as I said, it's the interconnected of all things. The final stage, the reaching the source, emphasizes the interconnected of all things. This message is particularly relevant in today's world. People who are becoming increasingly aware of the impact of their actions have on the environment and on others. We look at what the internet has done for us. It's really connected us with the rest of the entire world. We almost see in real time what is going on the other side of the world, and it impacts us in such a way that we want to that we do react to it. We have reacted in many different ways, sometimes in anger, sometimes in compassion, sometimes in just, well, we need to do something. And then it's the potential for the personal growth is maybe the final thing that the ox herding pictures can provide us, is a roadmap to personal growth and spiritual development. The journey depicted in the pictures is one that everyone can undertake, regardless of their background or their beliefs. The pictures can serve as a reminder that there is always potential for growth and transformation in our lives. And that's really what it is that you don't have to do anything special to get on the path, and everyone can do it, no matter where they might be in their life. So in summary, the ox herding pictures offer a timeless message that can be applied to modern life. They provide a framework for personal growth and mindfulness in the search for meaning and purpose. Whether one is interested in Zen Buddhism or simply seeking aspiration in their own journey, the pictures offer a valuable perspective on the human experience. And one reading that I would recommend, if you're more interested in the ox herding pictures, I'm going to stop this, is it's called Riding the Ox Home. And it's the Stages on the Path of Enlightenment. It's by John Dido Laurie. Here's the book. And it actually has the pictures I showed you on here were used with the permission of Zen Mountain Monastery, and they're the same pictures that are in this book. And they commissioned someone to do these pictures for them. And they're very, very nice. And it's a nice book. John Dido Laurie was a Zen master. He was from the Maizumi tradition, was his teacher. And they have a kind of a combo Rinzai Soto lineage. So they use koans, but they also use shikantaza. But he has he's got some really good commentary, and it's a nice little book. It's not particularly expensive. I think this was $11.95, and you can find it on Amazon. But that's a great way of kind of learning more about it, and that way you have the pictures, and you can kind of look at that. I've always found it interesting. I've had that book forever, and I thought, well, maybe I'd bring it to everybody and see if anybody got anything out of it. I enjoy, especially it's kind of part of our Zen art, and it's kind of that well-known, and like I said, that way in the next cocktail party, if somebody, oh, you're a Buddhist, well, what about the, and then you can wow them with the story of the ox herding pictures. But anyway, thank you very much, and thank you for being here. I appreciate that very much. And I'm glad that we can still support the Sangha, even though Bruce is dealing with some his family, and I hope that I haven't talked to him this week, but I'm glad everybody was able to come and support the Sangha today. So thank you. So if there's any questions or comments or anything, go ahead. Yes.
Kevin, some housekeeping before we get to questions. Since we're developing a new idea of recording these things, the question we want to ask people is, like I've seen on some other groups, the recording sometimes ends before the question period for just the teaching itself, or it can continue on. So it's a matter of what the participants feel like, because Kevin has the button to turn it on or off right now. So just asking other people.
Thank you, John. Yes, yeah, I'd like to have some feedback about the recording. This is something that we've discussed before. This gives an opportunity for people to review, or if they missed, and they can watch it later, or for whatever thing. So I would like to hear maybe some feedback also on the recording, and what would you be interested in hearing the questions afterwards, or just the lecture? I'm certainly not. I see no reason to record anything before the lecture, because everybody can meditate. They don't need a recording of it. But anyway, yeah, thank you.
And also, sorry, Marty, these videos or copies, according to talking to Kevin, will not necessarily be available to everybody out there on the internet. They'll just be handled within us, and it'll be Kevin to make them available to just the group of us or those on our mail list.
Yeah, it'll probably go out on the mailing list. I'll use the same list to send it out. I know Bodie Oak does a recording and of theirs, and but like I said, it's not public. It's just going to be within the mailing list of the Sangha. Go ahead, Marty.
Okay.
Well, no, I think the recording's a really good idea. I don't personally don't care about whether or not you record the question discussion afterwards. I don't have a feeling one way or the other, but I do think the recordings are nice because, I hook up with Bodhi Oak also, and when I'm gone, or if I really like having access to, what I've missed, and I would like that here a lot. But, and then as far as, thank you so much for today's talk, because I've seen photos of, the ox story, and when John sent out the title of the talk today, I was hoping that's what it was about, because I wanted to hear the background of it again. And I don't know, to me, I think it's fun and helpful to have the visual stuff, the art. And plus everybody can look at that differently, however they want to interpret it. And to me, it's kind of like a story. I love stories. I think stories are so powerful. And so this was kind of like that for me. I really liked it. Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yes, it is a story. And it's everyone's who's ever been on the path story. You can say, well, I'm on chapter 2 or I'm on chapter 4, and it's just like, where we are in our own story. But yes, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, Gene.
Ask a question. Well, first, are you going to, can you send PowerPoint?
Oh, I can send a link, but I can send a link of that, because it's a lecture it was an academic lecture that was used, and that's why I didn't use anything of his things, but I will send a link with the, I will send a link out for that, that I got it from, because it's, I believe it's a PDF that can be downloaded, but there's a link to it. You don't have to download it, but there's a link to the lecture and it uses all the pictures. Yes.
Okay, and then I had a question for you. I'm going to turn off the video because it's not working very well. Yeah.
Okay.
Could it be that the significance of the whip and ropes, it sort of confused me a little bit. Maybe it's different things to different people, but possibly things that constrain us, or even the things that we beat ourselves up with?
Yeah.
Oh, well, absolutely. Depending on how we use it, because we're trying to, it's a funny thing as far as, like I said in the beginning, because the bull can represent enlightenment, but it also can represent our ego. And really on the spiritual journey, we're trying to, as we diminish our ego, our compassion and our wisdom grows. So in that way, we're trying to really diminish the ego to the point where you see at the very end that there's a transcendence of beyond the ego. And so that's kind of always, that's why the bull has the nose ring, and so yeah, it's because sometimes we use our ego, we're using the ego to control the bull, like we're trying to power our way to, enlightenment, or, and it's when he really kind of lets go of that. And then and you see that constantly within the poem, is that I've let go of whip and rope. And it's just like that constant letting go. And you see that in several of the last poems, is that he's constantly letting go of the whip and rope, and trying to control things, and just letting it be.
Okay, so basically the ego controlling things.
Yes.
Got it.
Darrell, you had something.
I really liked it, the Dharma talk today. And my question was about the camera. I think it's pretty good for us to start recording the Dharma talk, even with the meditation, for the people who missed out, who may not have been here. And so that way, because some people like a routine where we go into the meditation, the kinhin, and the chant to the lectures.
Okay. Yes, I don't think there's any really restriction on it. Like I said, it's saved to the cloud, and then probably sometime tomorrow I will send out the link to it. And so I know I have the ability to download it to my computer if I wanted to. I don't know if everybody else, I haven't really played with that part, but on the link you go and so yeah, I don't think there's any kind of restriction as far as length or size, how it goes. So it's something that I've discussed with Bruce before he had to go, and he was open to it. So we'll just kind of, I played with it this week to make sure I knew what I was doing, and it seemed pretty easy and pretty straightforward. So yeah. Thank you. Marty, you had something?
I forgot to ask you, oh, wait. I forgot to ask you, could you spell the last name of the author?
Oh, yes.
Ocon.
He's John Dido, which is, that's his Dharma name.
Okay.
Lori, it's Loori.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Gary, did you have something?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask this for spelling myself, but I just really want to thank you for the talk today. I really appreciate it. And actually, I have never seen this before, so I'm really grateful that you talked about it. Yeah, very helpful.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Yeah, I thought it was one of the little gems of Zen. Is there's several within Zen that are teaching tools, but they're timeless. It's one of those things that really are timeless, and it's interesting to explore those avenues. Thank you. Brian, did you have something?
Oh, yeah, I was saying yes. Thank you for the lecture, too. I've seen the ox herding pictures before, but it's like every time I hear something new about it, kind of breathes new life into it.
Mm-hmm.
in a way, I think it is kind of like a visual representation. I know everybody that's been practicing a while that, we've experienced to one degree or another some of these type of states. So, oh yeah, too. And then on the recording, yeah, I think it would be a great resource too for people that are maybe new to the group with their kind of archive. They could, kind of have a catch up kind of type thing.
I thought about that too. It might be something that we could do in some kind of archive that people would have access to. And I had to talk to Janice about that. She's probably knows the most about that thing. But yeah, I thought that too. And as far as lectures, and so yeah, and yes, thank you. It really is something that was you always find something new and relate it. And just like anything in Buddhism, especially, is that we do experience all through all those pictures. We aren't in just one area that we're not. It's not like a thermometer where we're trying, getting hotter. It really is this circle where we always experience in certain places. We might be at a 2 or 4 or even 10 sometimes. We experience those, just kind of bits and pieces of it. And just like anything, it comes around on itself. It isn't the end of the journey. It's a continuance of the journey.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, John.
Yeah. So yeah, the Oxfording Pictures is wonderful. And it's in many different texts and books. And I think one of them I have is Zen Bones, Zen Flesh, a very short book. And when I've read it or thought about it, what I always recall taking away are the last two pictures, the ninth and the 10th, because at the end of the ninth one, a person could end up being in a monastery, in Tibet and forsaking this world. But the 10th one says, return to the marketplace where you become a bodhisattva to help save all the other souls crossing the bridge. So it's not complete until you return to the marketplace and become soiled and stained again. Okay? You got to take that thing back to the market.
Yeah. Yes, because it always talks about his dusty and ragged clothes, and like I said, that I know there's one translation that talks about him being in with the butchers and the wine drinkers, and that they're all Buddhas, and that really is what we do in Mahayana Buddhism, is the Bodhisattva path, and that it isn't just enough to cluster ourselves and revel in our enlightenment. Is the idea is to be able to take it to others and help them in some way. And even though, people in monasteries certainly do great work, you don't have to do that. You can be a home dweller, and maybe you're doing bodhisattva work with your family, who knows? Or, you could, like you said, an artist, a painter, anything, however you manifest this in your life.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're running just a little bit long, but we'll, I think John's going to have something for us next week. And I thank you again. So I guess we'll do the refuges. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Dharma. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhamman saranam gacchami. Sanghang saranam gacchami. Dudiyampe Buddham saranam gacchami. Dudiyampe Dhamman saranam gacchami. Dudiyampe Sanghang Saranam Gacchami. Tatyampe Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Tatyampe Dharman Saranam Gacchami. Tatyampe Sanghang Saranam Gacchami. Thank you again, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you.
No, I thank everybody. Thanks.